This is Maher Haboush, a manager of the Haboush Brothers soap manufactory in Gaza City that is located very close to the Mediterranean Sea coast. And he was informed by the IDF that his soap manufactory will be destroyed within 10 minutes, and he and his staff had 10 minutes to leave the compound. And after 10 minutes, a missile of a F-16 fighter jet was hitting this soap manufactory. And when I spoke with Maher Haboush on the next day about this attack, he told me that he assumes that the value of destroyed machines is more than $2 million US, and he does not have any idea why his manufactory was attacked. But as I will tell you now, this is just one of more than 220 factories that were completely destroyed and more than a few hundreds that were demolished. This is a carpentry of Jamal Abdel Al-Hourani. It's called the Al-Hourani Carpentry Manufactory in Jabalia. This is very close to Gaza City. And also this carpentry was hit by 3 missiles of F-16 fighter jets. And I want to quote what Jamal Abdel Al-Hourani, the owner of the carpentry, told me. "I don't know how to move on from here." He says that he possesses no savings for the reconstruction of a new manufactory, and there's no obtaining that he has no chance to get any compensation of the destructions that he estimates of $450,000 US, because this is what I must tell you. There was in 2007 a law passed in Israel that defines Gaza as enemy territory and prohibits compensations for losses inflicted upon them by the IDF. So no businessman can ask for compensation when his factory or manufactory was destroyed. This is a picture. The man on the left side is Jamal Abdel Al-Hourani, the carpenter. This gentleman is called Abu Ida, Abed Rabu Abu Ida. He's the manager of the Abu Ida construction company, and I spoke to him after his manufactory and storage house was attacked. Sorry, this was too quick. This is the next picture, but I will continue about the manufacturing company. It is one of the biggest factories in Gaza that provides building material, and the manager of the factory estimates the damage around $7 million US. It is really a huge company, and he had to dismiss all his 70 workers because all his facilities were destroyed and he cannot longer operate. That's why he had to dismiss them. His factory was already destroyed in 2008 and in 2012. So this is the third time that his company was destroyed and he had to dismiss his workers. And he said to me that this time he has no savings to reconstruct the business again. And this is a dead cow. This is one of 130 cows that were killed during a missile attack at the farm of the family of Al-Fayumi, also located in Jabalia, or close to Jabalia. And the Al-Fayumi family had 150 cows, and 130 of them were killed during this attack. And a member of the Al-Fayumi family who talked to me after the attack told me that none of his cows were members of the Hamas, and none of his cows were terrorists. So we must say that these cows were really innocent and did not harm anybody. And this is a very big loss for the Al-Fayumi family, because they milked them, and they sold the milk to dairies, and now they have just 20 cows left, and the farm is nearly completely destroyed, and they don't know how to get new cows because, as you know, it's for more than 7 years, nearly 8 years, there's an embargo. I will tell you more about it later. And the embargo makes it very difficult to get goods or animals imported. This was a huge candy factory called the Sarayo factory. Probably everybody from Gaza knows the Sarayo candy factory. And yeah, it was also completely destroyed by several missiles, and nothing was left over. When I spoke to the manager and the owner of the manufactory, Mr. Wael Al-Wadia, he was nearly crying because all his life all his work during his life was inside this factory, and he loved it to produce biscuits and even ice cream, and a lot of people in Gaza liked to eat his products. He produced, let me tell you, he produced nearly 5 tons of sweets a day, 5 tons of sweets a day, so a huge factory. And he said that his machines costed him $7 million when he purchased them and imported them from Italy. And he had to dismiss 100 permanent contractors, 100 workers who fed 100 families. And all these people now do not have an occupation anymore and do not have an income anymore. So this is really a big problem for all the families that were fed by the people who worked in these manufactories. This is Mr. Wael Al-Wadia, the owner of the factory, after the attack in his factory. I spoke to the social economist Mohsen Abu Ramadan, the director of the Arab Center for Agricultural Economic Development in Gaza. And he told me, I would like to quote him, Israel is not only attacking systematically civilians and their homes, but also systematically destroying the economy of the Gaza Strip in order to make people dependent on emergency aid. This is what he said. And another quote, now that almost the entire economy is destroyed after the attacks of the operation, what was the name of the operation? Protective Edge. This is how it was called abroad. People can no longer work, thus cutting their purchasing power dramatically. Now, this is what he said, youth want to immigrate at even younger ages than before. Due to the immigration of young, skilled workers, the economy is becoming even weaker. Israel has achieved the transformation of a functioning economy into a third world country within 8 years of embargo and 3 attacks within 5 years. And he says that without ending the embargo, it is impossible to break out of this vicious cycle of the devastating economy. I also spoke to Abdallah Al-Franji, the governor of Gaza, who is a high Fatah official. He says that approximately 600,000 inhabitants of the Gaza Strip became homeless during the attacks against the homes. So this means that a third of the population of the Gaza Strip was homeless, or is still homeless, and they were sleeping in schools, in shelters, at the houses of neighbors, family members, or even at the houses of strangers. And I would like to mention that Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, declared Gaza on July the 31st as humanitarian disaster area. Abbas urged the United Nations to do everything possible to help the people of Gaza. As a result, the people of Gaza asked me, I'm from Germany. I have to mention that I'm from Germany. They asked me if the German TV stations aired an announcement for donations, and I had to deny that, unfortunately. This is the Ministry of Finance that was destroyed at the night from the 28th of July to the 29th. That was a quite heavy night. I don't know who were you still there on the 28th to the 29th? Do you remember that it was really an extraordinary bombardment? It was really the quite heavy bombardment that I've ever experienced. And since then, there was also a shortage of money, that the ATM did not work anymore. It was impossible to get cash, and you had to ask the shop owner if you want to buy something, if you can pay it later, whenever cash is available by the ATM. And this is just one example of the systematically destruction of the infrastructure. Also, the only electronical power plant was destroyed at that night. And several roads and bridges and farmers, also the agricultural plantations were destroyed. For example, the orange plantations in Beit Hanun that were excellent plantations with delicious oranges. They were completely destroyed. I would like to show some footage that I filmed with my mobile phone when I drove through Gaza. It gives you an impression of the destruction and demolition. These are all civilian neighborhoods. And people estimate that, for example, Mohsen Abu Ramadan, the social economist, he estimates that the agricultural land that was destroyed had a value of 220 million US dollars. And also people think that it needs 10 to 12 years to rebuild all the things that were destroyed and demolished. But this would require an end of the embargo, which makes really a lot of suffer to the people. I would like to switch to another video. I also want to mention that the occupied territories, including the Gaza Strip, are literally captive markets, that Israel controls the whole economy. And the most products that are available in the Gaza Strips are imported by Israel. But on the other hand, the Palestinians cannot export their products to Israel, or when they can do it, very difficult. And the Israel products, they are custom-free, and the Palestinians products not, as far as I know. And another figure that I would like to tell you, even before the attack on Gaza, the percentage of the agricultural use of the gross domestic product in Palestine was just 5%, and now it's even less. And the percentage of manufacturing of the gross domestic product was 12%. And now, of course, it's even less after 220 factories were completely destroyed. There's no cut in this video. I present it to you as I recorded it. Last one, I will Before I close, I want to mention that I was for 1 month in the Gaza Strip during the attacks, and that I was staying in a house among 72 civilians, and 62 of these civilians were internally displaced persons who had to leave their houses in the north or in the south of the Gaza Strip. So we had a lot of people in the house where I was staying. The house was located in the center of the Gaza Strip, and yeah, we were sleeping on the floor. There was no privacy. Since the night of the 28th to the 29th of July, we did not have electricity anymore, and we had to repair a generator and had to buy fuel in order to get some electricity for some hours a day. And also the tap water was not working anymore, so we had to buy water bottles from the shop when they were available, if they were available. And we had to wash ourselves and the dishes with the water bottles, with the water from the water bottles, and it was really a difficult life in this time. We also had to bake our own bread, because at a certain time there was no bread available anymore in the shops. This is a destroyed house near Beit Hanun.
For Martin. Can I ask you one? You've described the destruction of industries or factories and the economic infrastructure. Could you see any military reason for that bombing that the Israelis could point to? Was there any justification for it?
No, there was no
destruction for the sake of destruction.
There was no justification at all. I asked all the people who were involved in the factory compounds and all the workers that I could find for testimony, and I asked them were the rockets or fired from these compounds, or stored, were rockets stored, or were there combatants, and all denied that to me, and I do not have any reason not to believe them. So it were completely civilian compounds that were destroyed, and yeah, I think it was really to harm the civilians and to harm the population in Gaza. That was the reason why they committed these attacks against the economy.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I ask a question, Ken, please? I mean, the figure of 600,000 made homeless, Martin, is just quite incredible. And so, but my question is in relation to the factories. You said there was 220, I think you said, had been destroyed. Have you any idea what percentage that is of, Gaza's industrial output? Has anyone tried to make a calculation of that?
I could not understand.
Is it my Scottish accent, you think? Yeah.
No, it was. It's not very loud. Acoustically, I could not understand it.
I was just wondering if you had any idea of what percentage of the factories had been destroyed in Gaza, what percentage of its industrial output. Has anyone tried to make that investigation or calculate it?
I think maybe 70% of the factories were destroyed or demolished. As I told you, that the figures are 220 manufactories were completely destroyed, maybe 300. There were 300 factories or manufactories in the Gaza Strip, and 220 of them were destroyed. This is what I remember from the interviews. And yeah, but nearly all of the agricultural plantations were destroyed, nearly everything. And a lot of farms were destroyed, nearly all of them.
Thank you, Martin. I'm told we have to move on, but thank you for a very important contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.